What's going on? It's Tori Kravitz. Welcome back to this week's episode of She's with the Band. I am stoked to have Kat Leon of Holy Wars coming onto the show in just a few minutes. I feel like I say that with every guest, but truthfully, I wouldn't have anyone on that I didn't absolutely adore. And I just know that this is going to be some good vibes in this conversation. So if you're not sure who Holy Wars is or not sure if you should stick around for this episode, listen to me when I say give it a moment, give them a shot, listen to their new EP, Cult Classic. I think they're really a band to keep on your radar right now. And I feel like on Instagram, I become the queen of telling you who should be on your radar. So I feel like I'm an authority to be able to tell you that, maybe. But yeah, speaking of Cult Classic, that is the latest EP that's out from Holy Wars. Really interesting piece of music and really interesting band, because I know we're all seeing it right now in the heavy world of like these genre bending bands. And it's a really fine line of like, is it a gimmick or is this really authentic? And it's sometimes it goes one way or the other. And Holy Wars, I really believe, fall on the spectrum of authenticity, realness, grit, and power in their music. I mean, I think part of the reason for that is that both members of the band, Kat and Nick, genuinely come from totally different backgrounds of music that they've combined together. So they were kind of doing the genre bending thing before it was trendy. Like Kat, I know her influences include like Fiona Apple, and she's mentioned like Garbage, so a little more on the alt rock side of things, whereas Nick comes from like the punk and heavy music background. So together they are a force to be reckoned with. But yeah, I found out about them actually through one of my best friends on the planet. She was tour managing them for just a couple of months and was like, Tori, this is your bag. This is your cup of tea. Listen to this band. And it took me a hot minute. But as soon as I really gave him a shot, I went back to my friend and was like, well, you are my best friend for a reason. You know me well. And since then, I've really been keeping an eye on them because they're doing really great things and they have a really powerful story. And I know Kat is like just an artist in all forms, like not just music, but she designs the outfits. She's really hands-on with the music videos. And if you haven't seen those music videos, honestly, I almost say I don't want you to pause this episode because I like having you here. But at least if you don't pause it to go watch the music video for Cult Classic, just do it after this episode. Go watch them in the music videos because I think you'll really like what you see. Speaking of liking what you see, if you like what you see and hear on this podcast right now, make sure if you are listening on Apple Podcasts that you're leaving us a review or following the podcast, downloading the episodes. All of that really helps to keep this thing alive for many years to come so we can continue supporting women in music. Or if you are listening on YouTube, leave me a comment and say hi. I do read them. I like seeing that people are like chatting to me and saying hi. Or you can follow Instagram at SWTBpod. So that's all my plugs. That's all I have to say. Let's go ahead and get Holy Wars on here. And we're joined now by Kat from Holy Wars. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing great. Are you coming to us from home base at the moment, or are you out on the road somewhere right now?
No, this is my home base, my collage wall, my dog, Nibs, joining us today. Very cool.
Hello,
little
Nibs.
poncho. Yeah, we're in Los Angeles, so I'm reporting from home.
Reporting from home. Well, awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, this just goes honestly perfectly into my first question that I had for you too, because reading the backstory of Holy Wars was so cool because I mean, you were talking about in another interview how really this project started. You had no connections, no advantages, just had to work your way up in LA, which is where you are right now.
Seriously.
And my God, I can't think of a more competitive place to be working your way up in the music industry. So I mean, I think about it in terms as well as like right now we're seeing this thing online of like women getting called industry plants as a way to just totally.
I've been seeing that too.
You've been seeing that, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
Well, Holy Wars, we need to just get that out in the open right now is anything but, right? So, I mean,
I can guarantee that. Yeah. If anybody comes at us saying that, I will fact check you so fast. I have so much to tell you about that. But yeah.
I mean, I imagine your experience working your way up in LA gave you so much grit and like ferocity to be able to fight that back. So I mean, what did it really teach you about success, about the path to success and just the industry in general?
It's grueling. I will say that, but I feel like I'm kind of a masochist because the thing I hate about it is the thing I'm obviously clearly attracted to, because I keep coming back for more punishment. Yeah, but it definitely, like, say you come out here from a small town, which was very much me, and my partner in the band, Nick, he came from Las Vegas, not quite a small town, but definitely had no connection to anything here, especially industry wise. So you really do learn so much that you can't get when you do have that clear, straight path from like a person in your family, or I don't know, a lover or whatever. But with that does come a longer road, a harder road. But it does teach you a lot about yourself too. And I'm very resilient. It taught me that I am a cat with 9 fucking lives. I will just keep running towards that boulder. And if it's a big boulder, I will freaking headbutt my way through it. So I'm really proud of the person I've become because of the disadvantages I've had. But the impatient side of me is very, envious of others who have a clear shot. Or, we've started this project in 2017, and it started from a real painful place of a very tragic loss in my life. So I have all that heart and passion woven into the fabric of who we are. And then when you see another band that's like, oh, I just started in 2021, and I'm like, cool, and you're playing bigger stages, and like, it's hard to get past. But I have to remind myself, our paths are not the same. And if cream will rise to the top, and sometimes it takes you 10 years for an overnight success, sometimes the overnight comes from TikTok, and there really is just no method to the madness. You just kind of get in the ring and you fight your way through it. It's my best long version answer for that.
No, fully. And I even think, like, I understand where you're coming from. That's got to be hard to watch somebody with the instant success. And this is a total generalization. It's not always true, but the way I see it sometimes is like, well, if they rose that high, they're gonna fall that fast.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. So like sometimes a long game's like the way to long standing career, isn't it? I don't know. That's just my take, at least.
I think so. And look, there's always an exception to every rule. So I'm
Right.
sure there's going to be artists that we would predict would be like, yeah, they'll be gone in a year, but maybe not, But I think if you are an actual like a touring musician, if you do things that are not just like for short form videos, that will ensure a longer path of a career for you versus just because, say TikTok is hot today and has been hot for a few years, but it's gone tomorrow. And if that's all your platform, if that's all your fan base, how do you rebuild after that? So I think if you have all the fires burning in different ways, like our touring is definitely where we find the most passionate fans than say our online presence. But if you have all of them cooking at the same time, then I think it's smarter, So
that is so true. Like, good thing you didn't have your fan base on Vine, or else you'd be gone so quick.
Seriously, I think I had a Vine for 2 seconds, and I was like, I talk a lot, and it takes a long time for me to, like, I can't shorten it down. It's hard.
I feel that. That's why I have a podcast.
I seriously, if I had, what, I will have a podcast one day because I feel like I just love chatting. So
let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, like obviously you're talking about it was a long road. I mean, 2017, like that's several years of grinding to get to this point that you're at now. Do you feel like, I mean, when I see Holy Wars, I see such like a gritty, passionate band. Do you feel that your journey in some ways shaped the way that the band is now, or like shaped your attitude as a musician, or like how that
100%.
comes out in what you do now, or even on this new EP?
All of it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Cause we did our first show at the Echoplex, and we weren't meant to be a band at that time. And that the music that was written during that, from 2015, when I lost my parents, to 2017, I think I wrote 2 songs because I was obviously dealing with life and death stuff, and then my own, questioning of my own life and what my purpose is and my place is and all of that. That when 2017 happened, and it started a rumor around our circle of friends who are musicians here in Los Angeles, we got an opportunity to play at the Echoplex, and we wrote, I think, 3 or 4 more songs just to fill that set. And the reaction of that first show really did kind of show me what, I don't know, I guess my purpose would be, and kind of like heal my trauma. and then maybe heal other people. I don't know, but it did change the way I look at everything, because I went through such a significant loss in my life that anything after felt insignificant, so where I would care so much prior to, I would have stage fright, or I would feel like or like in Los Angeles, it's very common to see these people because they're just like, we do it too. I don't know. Like there's like, you don't get as much energy from a lot of Los Angeles crowds, especially when you're just starting out. And I think I took this fuck it energy where I was like, I don't care what you think about me because my parents are dead. I was just very much like in that element, and that grit, that passion, that play every show like it's the last show of my life has never left. I always remind myself that this is a privilege that I get to do this. And the fact that I'm singing a song about my own healing, my own trauma, and that is affecting a person I never met before in such a positive way, it's a gift. So I never take anything for granted. And I realize life is very precious, and I should just kind of savor every opportunity that we get. So that's kind of where all of that came from, and why it still is very much prominent in my life now.
Man, I mean, like, I don't even know how to add to that, because everything you said there is so powerful and so visceral. And I think it makes so much sense, because what you do, it feels genuine. I even said it in the intro, like, you hear about all these like eccentric genre melding bands, and sometimes it comes off so disingenuous. I'm like, that ain't Holy Wars though. Like, y'all are doing something crazy, and something where like I feel it. And I feel like that's really hard to find in rock these days. Like, you're a real one. And it's like,
thank you. Wow.
I'm sorry that you had to go through such a horrible, difficult time. And I'm sure you're still feeling it to this day. I have no doubt, but like, you made something so beautiful out of it in the midst of that. And I applaud you big time.
Thank you. That's really comforting to hear. Cause the internet is a wild place, and we don't meld genres because we're like trying to chase something, or we feel like, oh, this is hot right now. It's genuinely the music we love and how we feel. So it's really like, what should this song feel? What should this part have? And I just don't like to put anything in a box, for better or worse. I feel like this like multi-genre thing that we've been for many years, it's kind of our downfall as much as it's our rise, like it's this like, because a lot of people want to ask you, what are you, or what playlisting are you, or what radio are you? And I just think music and art shouldn't be so, I don't know, like binary like that. I feel like it should be a lot more fluid. So hopefully the world is changing.
Yeah. And that's such a tough one though, because like, you're in a funny spot, because like the genre bending metal thing is trendy right now, and it's like, but you're not doing it for that reason. And even I know you and Nick come from different musical backgrounds to begin with, so like you all were doing it before it was hot.
Seriously, like I started out playing Regina Spektor on my piano and Fiona Apple, and then Nick came from the hardcore scene and punk scene in Las Vegas. So those two worlds already are polarizing, and we've always had, since the very beginning of our existence, this like push and pull, like maybe this, maybe that. And to be completely transparent, the metal heavy side of who we are and how we've been developing these years took a while for me to feel comfortable with, not because I didn't love the music, because I wanted to make sure it was completely authentic to how I felt and what I was listening to at that time. Because I don't want to be like many bands that I'm sure some people might put us in that category of like, oh, it's another band doing this like new metal pop thing, whatever. But I mean, those people, okay, that's your opinion. You're welcome to have that. But it really did take a while to find this. And the heaviness came mainly not just because of Nick's background, but because when we started touring, we noticed a lot of people across every tour in every city across at least the States, we haven't gone outside the States yet, always said the same thing. And that was always, we liked your music, but you guys were way more heavy, way more aggressive. You have this visceral energy that your music recorded just doesn't really show. And they were asking us why, like, is that a choice? And we're like, no, that's not a choice. Like, it just live brings out this catharsis in us that we don't plan for. It just naturally happens. So on this new EP called Classic, it really was, okay, let's make this more like what we sound like live. So it was more authentic than maybe picking a genre that's trending, if that makes sense, you know?
Fully. And yeah, man, like music production and how you mix everything on a recording changes everything. So it's like really cool to
Yeah.
see how that's progressed. You're like, cool, you want heavy? We're heavy live. Let's add it to the EP. And I could totally hear it
Yeah.
on this EP. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking as well about like authenticity. And also we were talking a little on social media. And I did want to ask you more about that, because I know you had said in another interview of like, pretty much every band hates the fact that we're in like this viral media rat race of like having to generate the content and like keep yourself relevant, but at the same time you're artists. Like that's so, it
Yeah.
doesn't usually go hand in hand. So
Yeah.
how do you like balance that desire of like wanting to be an authentic artist, but also like it is an unfortunate necessity of having to do the social media thing as well?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I'm balancing it well, to be honest, because there'll be
Uh-oh.
days where, yeah, like, but then people are like, "You're so good at it." I'm like, "Really?" Because I think I'm horrible at this.
I mean, I'm asking you
Um,
because I think your Instagram looks banging. So I'm
oh,
asking you
thank
because
you.
I genuinely think you're doing a great job. Yeah.
Well, thank you. See, for me, where I love a visual art that, say, obviously is not the music, with photos and videos, I love crafting a world of visuals. I make my own outfits. I've made my own harnesses. Like I love blending all these types of arts together. But yeah, when you have the short form platforms, really taking off and squashing, it's like the algorithm's the new gatekeeper now, and you really have to feed the little like penny slots at like a little bit each day and hope you jackpot. And you don't know what it is, and it could be the cringiest thing you've ever done, but you're like, well, this is what I'm known for now, great. And I don't know. So I feel like Instagram, I do a lot better at it than, say, the Reels side of Instagram or TikTok. But I'm a work in progress, and I for sure don't want to be the person, like a granny. I'm like, get off my lawn, and now like I've like aged out of something. Like I want to like play along, and I just don't know. I guess I'm still learning how to carve my space in it that feels authentic to me, because I'm certainly not going to be like that. Did I just write the song of the summer? Or like I'm showing my parents. Well, I don't have parents, so there it is. I can't even show my parents for the first time my song. Actually, that would be a funny TikTok, being like, what do you think? I mean,
Say
yeah,
that for later.
we cope with grief with comedy. So, but I there was this TikTok actually I just saw recently where this artist was saying, like, it's so embarrassing to promote yourself as an artist, because artists are generally, we write the music to talk to you. Like that's how we
Right.
communicate. It's not us getting on this like platform and like doing a little dance, or it's literally like, this is what I created, and we're awkward people. But I love this. I love conversation. I love getting to know people. I'm certainly an open book, and I welcome anybody to get to know me, warts and all. But I do it like this. And for me to just like film myself in selfie mode, it's so, it's strange. Like it gives me the ick. Like I'm like, I don't believe this, but I don't know. Maybe in a year from now, I'll be like winning the social media game. We'll see.
It's just that necessary evil, isn't it? Where it's just like, well, we do what we got to do, because like at the end of the day, I suppose it's like the unfortunate part of turning a band into a career is like certain parts of it can become a bit of a job, or like that's the responsibility of the artist and all that. That's a whole conversation for another day though, I suppose.
Yeah, but I have to say a point for rock or metal fans. They really do like to see a band and a band playing. Like they're kind of traditionalists when it comes to that. So I do think like did I just write the song of the summer, or like that kind of stuff wouldn't really fly in certain genres. So sometimes it is different for different genres. And luckily there is this vast, ever growing internet, like portals, that you could find your portal. But I think the best question is, who are you? What do you want to say? And what feels the most genuine to say that? Because I also think people can smell right through that. Like they could be like, oh, this is like totally disingenuous. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still learning it too. I wish I had advice, but I don't.
No, but you're so right though, and especially like when you think about like metal and heavy music fans, we're all kind of misfits. We're like maybe we're not interested in the trends and like what's hot on Instagram because we don't even like, a lot of us don't even get it anyway, because that's why we're here, isn't it? So
exactly. I was literally the awkward kid wearing my capes in middle school. Like I showed up with like witchcraft and like, you know, I was, you know, so I was definitely not going for like the cheerleading shit. That's for sure.
For sure. I suppose we're in the right genre then. We're both in the right place.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that you brought up too, like the visual imagery, because holy crap, the music videos, your live outfits, like there's so much to Holy Wars that is beyond the music. Like seeing the photos of you on stage, the music videos are beautiful and incredible and like pretty elaborate too. And I know you do costume design, you also do video directing, like you are a multifaceted queen. So how do you how do you feel that these visuals enhance the music or the musical experience for Holy Wars?
You know, I love, if I could do a music video for every single song on that we've ever created. And I will say we have most, which we just signed with a label this year. So all of that was ourselves. Like I would be, we would be writing for TV and film, or before that I was bartending, working late hours to support the visual arts that I like to create. But for me, it's very important because I come from like a filmmaking and a theater background too. So I can't hear a song without needing to see the visual for it. Mm-hmm. And even if that visual is something like, say, another artist does a music video and I was like, oh, I was seeing something different. I still love the creation that they made and like what that means to them. And I just like, again, like I said earlier, it's a privilege. So every day that if I have a privilege to do that, whether it's to having really talented friends that help create this vision with me, or having a little bit of a budget that maybe I didn't have before. I'm just grateful every day that I get to do it because I think it's important. I think, I love to build a whole world. So if I have the means to do it, then I'm going to keep doing it,
For sure. So when you're creating music, like let's say this EP, are you also like, as it's happening, seeing the visual, like do both just work in tandem?
Yeah, actually. And Nick always laughs because as I'm recording it, he's like, all right, what music video are you seeing in your head now? And I was like, okay, I'm falling back into hell. And, and it's always a little bit more elaborate than I can currently do at that time. So I do shift, but a lot of times, like for Deus Ex Machina, I really, we weren't planning on having a music video for that one because definitely the label was like, we love it. They loved it, but they were like, cult classic, Body Temple, like those would definitely be very giving for visuals. But I just needed the chaos. I wanted a roller coaster in the mind and I needed to get that out. And I met an incredible CGI artist out of, not even in Los Angeles, and he just did it for fun. And through friends, I met him and I was like, I'd love to like collaborate with this. So, he brought a lot of himself into it too. So I'm very collaborative with what I do. I'm more of a hands-on artist versus like hiring a director and then telling them to do everything for me. I like to be way more hands-on, but I also love to build a team of people that I trust because my expertise only goes so far. So I really want to like lean on them as well to bring this vision to life. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. But yeah, I see everything when I'm writing the song or recording. I'm like, well, here's the world. Can I create this or not? So
that is so fascinating and cool as well that you said like what you may see in an artist's song is different from what someone else may see, and everyone has a different visual. So I almost think like it is cool to be able to hear your music first and then see the music video and be like, whoa, that is crazy. And like
I prefer it that way.
Yeah.
Like I would rather hear a song and then see the video versus, some things I can't control because I'll see the video, it just comes in and I'm like, oh, sick, I love this song. But now I can't not see the visual with that song. But it's like reading a book, right? You read a book, you create a world in your mind, and then you watch the movie. And sometimes it's what you imagined better. And a lot of times it's not what you imagine. You kind of wish it was what you imagined. So I think it's kind of cool to hear a song first and then create your own idea of it. And if you choose to see what the artist did, then I would recommend checking it out because you love that artist. So let's, go look at what they wanted that song to look like,
Oh,
So,
it is really cool though to know that the music video concepts are coming from your mind because like you said, not every
oh
artist
yeah,
does it that way, where they may just hire a director to portray the vision. So
yeah.
knowing that it's all so intertwined and all a part of you and your mind and your world, I think really enhances the music video experience too, doesn't it? At least to me. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I agree fully. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even just talking about other ways that like the music comes to life, I did mention the live performance briefly. And although I haven't seen you live personally yet, I've seen quite a few
Well, we
videos.
can. We'll come to Orlando. We'll come to
Please, let's
you.
go. But your
Mhm.
stage presence from what I've seen in the videos is like just like locked in. Like you just look powerful and driven. And I love seeing that. And so what's kind of running through your mind like post-show, pre-show that brings that intensity out of you? Or is it just like blank in there?
No, no, I actually have
Yeah.
like a little ritual mantra that I do. I'm very superstitious. I'm like game day jersey kind of person. Like I have to wear my docs that I've worn on every tour and they're worn in. And like I'm like every tour, I'm like, are you gonna last another tour? Okay, let's go. Same with my mom's socks. I wear my parents' ashes. Like I have those. So I have like my armor around me, if you will. But I always say to myself, like, one, yes, okay, I want to do a good job. I want to sound great. I want the band to sound great. I want to feel great up there. But I think I started to look at playing live differently than maybe when we first were starting out, where it was like, fuck it, like this is us, like us or hate us. I don't care, you know? And then it turned into like, well, I do care. I want to give you guys a night you're going to remember. And, after the pandemic was when we first started touring for the first time. Like we were like local Los Angeles kind of touring, or we would be the openers when Papa Roach was, playing. We would do those opportunities, but starting to see like new cities and some people saying like, you're my first show I've ever seen. I just turned 18, like that. That's not lost on me because I remember my first show, and that will be with me forever. And I really, I started to think now it's not just about me. It's not just about us. It's about the two of us. And if I can give them the energy in me, if I can be visceral and empowered up there, then I'm hopefully bringing that out of them. So now, once I created that mentality in my mind, every show's had that same energy. And I've seen the response. Like it's almost like narcissistic because it kind of goes back into like it's narcissistic being like I want to perform and be a musician and come and watch me do my show. But then when you have that mentality of I want to be something for you, I want to give you a night of catharsis, I want to give you a night of energy where you feel free and inspired, and then that fan is really excited and maybe they create their own music, or but then they're really excited to see you again. So it does come back. It's like a what am I trying to say? It's like
It's a
the
cycle, kind of,
yeah,
or
and
like
it's
a
like
back
a
and
give
forth.
and take. It's a give and take, exactly. So that's what I remind myself every show. I tell myself like, if this was the last night of my life, what would I want to go out? Like, what would I want to do? How do I want to feel? And how do I want to make them feel? And if I always keep that in my mind, then I really do believe we will always have that same kind of show, and I'll have a good time doing it. So
That is beautiful. And I mean, it's not narcissistic at all, actually, because I feel like a lot of musicians are probably only, or like performers are just thinking of themselves. How do they look? How do they sound? And for you to even take into consideration how you want the audience to feel is so lovely. Because, yeah, I'm sure they feel it, like that they're being thought of and that they matter as a part of
yeah.
the show because they absolutely do. Like, what's a show without an audience, right?
Seriously, like, look, you can create your music, you can put it online, you can put it in your computer and never release it, and music will do whatever it needs to do for you. But if you're trying to build a community and you want your music to be the source of that community, then there is no us without you guys, without everybody else. So And that's not honestly how I feel about life in general. Like, call me hippie, but I feel like we are all connected anyway. So there is no you without me. And if you don't look at me and acknowledge my existence, after a while you start to wonder, do I exist? So like, I mean, that's another podcast of like existential crisis. But
so like, when you're ready to start that podcast, I'm in. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go to the desert. Let's take some shrooms and let's just fucking go into like the portals of existence.
That'd be the
let's go to another dimension
ever. 100%.
Yeah. I am a lizard person now. Anyways, I'm kidding. I am not a lizard person. There is no Illuminati around me. At least,
dude, Blabbermouth is only going to take that line as like the clip of this podcast.
Cut it out. No, I see what happens.
What TikTok they do.
And Reels. They take one little thing and then that's it. That's who you are. I'm telling you right now, that is not me. Okay.
I'll shut it down. Don't you worry. I got there.
Shut it. Yes.
I don't even know how to get us back on the rails of talking about this EP now, because I'm sorry. No, do not apologize. Like, this is what I hope would happen on every podcast. So thank you, like, for fulfilling my dreams, really.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I really wanted to talk about too, because I'm a horror movie nerd. I love movies, and the fact that Cult Classic is inspired by movies, another reason why you all make me very happy. And like, horror and rock have a long history. I mean, you're talking Misfits and Rob Zombie, you name it. So like, to me, it was a no-brainer when I realized that those inspirations were coinciding on your EP. So were there any specific movies that you were really delving into as you were kind of getting the creative ideas for the EP together? And why was horror the ideal inspiration for it?
Well, horror is Nick. I love horror, but Nick is the horror buff. Like, he like knows every B movie. Like, he will tell you his favorites, or like, and he's really obsessed with Nightmare on Elm Street, and he says his favorite one's like not the fan favorite one, whatever. But so I would say when we decided, like, okay, it's going to be called Cult Classic, I was more inspired, not necessarily by like a particular horror film that we've seen or we love, but more about like the concept of what horror means. But I will say that the singles, the covers, the artwork was inspired. So like Body Temple, I was inspired by House of Wax, and how like, but I really wanted it to be like not the horror from the outside. I wanted the horror to be from inside, because I believe, we all have this horror within ourselves, and with the internet and social media, everything we've been discussing this whole time adds to that. And it's like this like never ending cycle. So with, like Deus Ex Machina, the horror from inside, the God from the machine is our brain controlling us. And we're just like kind of the puppet, and our ego is the puppet master or whatever, so there's that. Body Temple was also the ego, but the horror coming from in. So like the flames in that single cover is from inside. So you see like the machine and Deus Ex Machina is literally coming out of the head as like an explosion. Body Temple is the flames coming from inside out. So everything is inside out. And then Cult Classic, the song too, is also like talking about the external reasons why we have this horror inside. So it's not always just because of us, it's because of our reflection in this world as well. So that's where the horror came into play. And of course, I was like, I want everyone to look like a movie poster, because we do love the horror genre. And you're right, it plays such a big hand with rock music too. And I think rock music should feel a little dangerous. Horror definitely is dangerous. So that's kind of where a lot of it came from,
That is fabulous, man. Even this conversation of like the monsters from within, I think that's for our other podcast now too. We need to bring that back for our desert mushroom lizard women podcast.
I'm ready. Seriously.
It's intense. But I'm actually glad you brought a little more clarity to it too, because I know in other interviews you talked about like, oh, the monsters within, and I'm like, okay, what does that really mean? And now I'm understanding. That's brilliant.
It's our insecurity, it's our need for existence, it's the ego, it's just our human design, of us. We are very imperfect creatures, and that's what makes us beautiful. But that also is it could be our biggest enemy, ourselves. We are our own worst enemy. but that's not to say it's not because of the influence of others either, but it takes a very strong minded person to not let the influence of others affect us in a negative way. And I don't think any of us are good at it, but it's a journey. And some days I feel great. Some days I really let that one comment just slice me through. And I'm like, why am I letting this one person that doesn't even have a profile picture tell me what I am, when I know what I am? So that's that horror within. And I always speak from like this place of like self growth and self empowerment, and just like being truthful too. Like, I don't believe in just like a pleasant side of life. Like, we all have a shadow self, and we all have this dark side that is like always there. So I tend to walk into the dark side, and I'm like, let's go. Like, what do I need to learn today? And that's what I think, as heartbreaking as it could be in parts of life, it's also beautiful,
Mm-hmm. And it's I think everybody can understand that too. Like, unless you're Eckhart Tolle and you're just like completely, I don't know, awakened, we all have to deal with that in one way or another, whatever the influence may be for each person. So like that EP should resonate with just about anyone who listens to it, really. And also, yeah. And the title track, there was such an interesting quote. I don't know if this was in a press release or if it was in an interview, but I had to grab it. So I'd read that the title track was about the unattainable ideology of what it takes to thrive in a society that is holding each individual under its thumb. Holy crap.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, is that essentially what we're talking about here? But in what ways do you think music and art, and especially like metal music, could be a way to kind of push back at this monster, or push back at society, or like just what's in us to, I don't know, maybe be a better version of ourselves or cope?
I mean, how music does that, or just
or
how
even
could we
your
do
music,
that?
or music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what music has always been, right? It's not always. I mean, of course, like there are music that plays right into that society being like, you will be distracted by this.
Yeah.
But going back to like Bob Dylan, and like music's been a form of protest, and I mean, there is even, I can't fully comment on this, but like even when I remember growing up and learning how like back in days of slavery, where they would communicate through song, and that was like a form of their own personal freedom until they actually had real freedom, so music has been this form of revolt, for lifetimes before us, it's changed since then, and there's different avenues of music, but I feel like if I'm going to create music, I personally want to create music to push against what I feel society is doing, whether it's through misogyny, racism, whether it's through just classism, all of it. And it's important, because otherwise we're asleep. And I don't know. There are times too where I also feel like, is this doing anything, or are they just making us believe we have a choice and we have a vote, and us marching in the streets is doing something? I have those days too where I'm like, is this all for nothing? But I'd rather be doing something towards what I believe in, whether it's somebody's belief system or not, but it's my belief system. And through, luckily, freedom of speech, I have a right to say it. So, I think that's why I do music. And I think that's why music matters, and about the society side of things. But then when you're talking about just making a human connection, music has saved my life in many ways. And I know there's several artists, and I've heard it myself from other fans, that like your song got them through the hardest times. And I feel like that's another reason why music's important, and how you can affect one individual, and if I did something positive, then I feel like the purpose I have here on this earth is succeeding that, so.
Yeah, fully. And I know, like, time and time again, I've seen it on this podcast that, like, I don't like to get too much into, the female fronted thing. Like, I think the representation in this podcast existing is enough, but like what you're doing, even just showing up on stages at festivals, might be a surprise to somebody who resonates and didn't even know you existed. And like that experience of just knowing you exist and you are impacting and even just representing, that in itself is so powerful. Like, I've seen it over and over on this podcast. So keep doing what you're doing, basically.
I mean, yeah, but you got to have a thick skin, you really do.
Fully.
And I have to say too, like, we do get a lot of, I should say a lot, but we do get like, especially when you're running like an ad, gosh, run ads on Facebook. Woo, they all come out. Damn, do they not like that?
Well, that's
But
Facebook for you.
yeah, seriously. But, you just gotta like, roll it off the back. But, yeah, there is like, some pushback too, but we also, if you look at like how we have a lot of men that listen to our music, so it's not all just like, yes, there's a lot of boys club out there is, and there's a lot of pushing through that, but it is a little bit easier now. The more of us going out there and doing it, then will inspire more to do that, and making space for others. So that I think is important, but it does come with like, I don't usually like female fronted musicians, or somebody, I remember I saw a comment at one point where they were like, girl singers, LOL. And it's like, so anybody identifying as a woman is not allowed to sing? Is that what you're wanting to tell me? Like girl singers? So you're gonna get that, but you have to kind of know that's happened before you, way even worse, I imagine, than it is happening to us now. But you can't let that stop you, So I agree. I think it's great that now you're looking at these festivals and you're seeing a lot more diversity up there, via gender, via race, all of it. Because I don't know, like, haven't we seen it the other way for a long time? So
drop the mic on that. I have no more comment other than amen.
Yeah. Like,
absolutely.
Opportunity should be for all of us. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why this whole thing exists. This whole podcast exists, is to show like we are here, we are represented, and not only on stage, but behind the scenes, we're running the show, and people may not even really know it. So the more we can show it outwardly, the better. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, I feel like we've gotten really philosophical. Sorry about that.
Oh, I feel like it's literally why I had to create an EP about it, because that's like what I like obsess over all the time. So it counts. It's about the world we're talking about.
100%. And to lighten things up too, to end the podcast, I have 4 of my most jaw-dropping questions for you. We end every episode this way.
Okay.
So we're just gonna jump right in. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. They're not too bad, I promise. First one, what is the most jaw-dropping experience you've ever had at a show? Could be one of yours or someone else's.
Oh, okay. I had one answer that's like kind of gross. Another answer would be more PC. I got the opportunity to see Savages. Did you ever see that band live, Savages? They're from the UK. They have since then put a pause on the band, but Jenny Beth, the front person of that band, is still out there doing it and doing well. Anyways, the best show I've ever seen. I literally jaw dropped. So like when I saw them perform twice a few years ago, that also kind of helped me be like, oh, I can be just as vulnerable and powerful as that person. So that feeling that I was given is what I want to help others feel like, because that's how you build it. And this person is I'm assuming identifies as a woman. So they were doing that right in front of me. I was like, wow, like she's owning this freaking crowd, and they love it, and I love it, and I love her, so that was the most jaw-dropping, was witnessing Savages.
Dude, and so full circle as well, because I wouldn't be surprised if there's someone who's been in your audience where they saw you and said, whoa, they could do that, I could do that. And it's like, that's the cycle, isn't it? What we were talking about with like representations. That's freaking sick. I'm gonna go find some videos of them online after this now, because sold.
Yes. So good. Seriously, you won't be disappointed.
Awesome. And the next one we have the most jaw-dropping misstep early in your career and the lesson that you learned from it.
Oh shit, I gotta think about that. Everything? No, I was kidding. Jaw-dropping misstep. I would, oh God, I don't know. Later, this is what always happens. I'm like, crap, this very good answer would have been the right thing to say. But I would say, like, we lost some time. in the very beginning. Like we had a lot of momentum when we first started in 2017. Things moved really fast for us because we were playing once, twice a month in LA. We got a manager overnight practically, and it was organic. It wasn't because we knew somebody. It was literally that thing that you hope for. They see you in a club and they're like, who the hell is this band? But that came during the Mother Father EP when I was talking about the most important thing in my life. And then I didn't know what to say after that. And I've said this a few times in other interviews, but that's why I feel like that's like the most misstep, is because I didn't trust what I could say next. I didn't trust myself. I was too much an authenticity police, where I was like, is this what I need to say to follow up such an important record? And then we were working with a management company that put us in some writing rooms, which now we can do co-writes because we write for film and TV aside from the band. And those are easy now. But back then, it really stunted Nick and I. We were both like, we write as a band. Like, what? You're going to put us in a room with a producer we never met to write this song, not just like help us record it? This is strange. Like, it's not the type of music. Like, that's not what I thought the music industry was. So it was a little being naive, a little young, a little too precious about our material at that time. And yeah, we were releasing maybe one single a year. And it wasn't until 2020 that everything changed for us. So I think we lost about 3 years in that middle time. I would say more like 2 years, but I wish I could go back and do it a little differently. So that would be my misstep for sure.
Fair play. Well, it brought you to where you are now. So
that's true. I still got here. I could have been here sooner, maybe, but I got here. I'm getting here. Here we are. We're doing
that. I feel that.
Yeah.
Next one here, the most jaw-dropping female artist that you would love to work with.
Oh, Shirley Manson. Shirley Manson is my queen, garbage. Actually. Yes, like Fiona Apple too, like Alanis Morissette. That's like when I was a kid, I was just like, who are you? Like, what is this? You know, you're saying what I feel. So yeah, I would love to bring it back to my roots, and any of those I just mentioned would be great.
That would be phenomenal. I would love to see them really pop into the metal world as well, because they kind of teeter that line. Well, I guess Garbage really does. Where it's like, it could happen one day, maybe.
You know, I will say I did get, so I've never got the opportunity yet to meet Shirley Manson in person, but we're mutuals on Instagram. We follow each other, and she's been very supportive of us. I don't know Alanis or Fiona personally, or even follow, or they don't follow us, but we did the Aftershock Festival, and there's this picture, I think it's pinned on our Instagram, where it's a black and white photo by one of my favorite photographers, Maya Holt. She was out there, and it looks like Woodstock 69 or something. Like, it doesn't look like Aftershock 2023. And it has this like energy in it that Shirley Garbage, she commented on it. She was like something like along the lines of like, wow, what an iconic photo, or something like that. And I was just like, what?
Like the icon said, you're iconic. Congratulations.
Like, it was just like, wait, is this real life? And of course I played it way too cool. I was like, thanks, you know, and I didn't do that thing where I like shared it on Instagram. I just kept it you're honestly the first person I'm even talking to about this. So that kind of showed me like, maybe one day it's possible, you know, and she's still out there killing it. So like, you know, call me up. I would love to open for them, or collaborate.
Just send her like this section of the podcast. Just be like, I'm done playing it. Cool. Here you go. Let's collab.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I would be horrible at dating right now. I'd be like, this is me. They'd be like, oh, swipe.
All right. Well, the last question we have for you, the most jaw-dropping misconception about you or Holy Wars that you wish people understood.
Oh my God, I know exactly what it is. We are not a Megadeth cover band. I'm very sorry. That is the most, I swear. So when we named this project, yes, did we know that there was a very popular song by Megadeth? Of course we know Megadeth. Of course we know the song. But I named it for a very personal, raw reason that has shaped who I am today and how I grew up. But I can't escape the Megadeth fans. They are always being like, I thought this was a cover band. man, mad. Like they're mad that not only are we like taking the name of one, but it's like they don't. I mean, how many bands have formed their band name from a song? Radiohead being one of them. Like, I don't know. So that's the biggest misconception. We are not a cover band. Yes, we know and we love Megadeth, but we don't sound like them, and I'm very sorry.
That is actually probably one of the best misconceptions I've heard on this podcast, because even when I was doing my research, I was like, oh, Megadeth. No, I'm looking for the band.
Oh, yeah. Like, don't even Google us. Don't even try. Like, just Google band, Holy Wars band. Yes. You'll get some more stuff. But if you just put in Holy Wars, yeah, I mean, and rightfully so, they're legends. They are fucking legends, you know, but I feel like you know, like, I don't know, we're not so far off. We do have heavy music, but yeah, we're not Megadeth. And I'm very sorry to anybody that is listening to this podcast that was really hoping we were.
Would you ever release a Megadeth cover as a gag?
I feel like I should, actually, as my way to just be like, like, finally. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to touch it, honestly. I feel like that, well, it's like, they do it great. And if I would be doing it, I would be doing it for a statement. And I do have a lot of respect for that band and their fans, that I'm just like, you know, the few fans that think that we are Megadeth and are upset think that we're not a Megadeth cover band, they're few and far between. But they're there, and they've been there since our beginning of our existence, and they're still there now. So, you know, I don't want to disrespect them or their community. So I think I'm just going to leave it, you know, let them decide what we are for them, but it has no reflection on who we actually are. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it.
Well, the reputation is cleared. And with that, Kat, that is everything I've got. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are amazing. Any last words or anything else you want to say before we peace out?
When are we airing this? Is this coming up soon?
Yeah, the 18th of December-ish.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we won't be touring until next year. But we're gonna be on tour next year. So just like follow us at Holy Wars Music if you want to see us live and experience all of this we were talking about. Then that's how you can find out where we're gonna be in your city.
Sick one. Well, thank you so much for your time, Kat. You've been amazing. This has been a really fun conversation. So
I know.
Hope to see you on the road.
You will.
Yes, I will. And everybody who's watching, make sure you're subscribed on KNOTFEST. Make sure you're tuning into the podcast every other week. Cult Classics EP that's out now. Give it a listen as well. And with that, I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.